To which Mr. Gandhi very categorically responded, saying, "No, you cannot do anything, you should not do anything. It is our problem, it is our internal issue, and we will sort it out, and the solution will come from within. This is India's problem. This is India's internal problem. Because you're asking me about the state of Indian democracy, I'm telling you because I do not wish to lie." This idea of defaming India on foreign soil, if anything, was indulged in by the Prime Minister of India. We have found over the last couple of days that Mr. Gandhi's videos on the Adani matter are not getting the kind of the numbers of views that it should ideally be getting for the kind of engagement that these videos are generating.
The deadlock in the parliament continues, with the BJP continuing to insist that Rahul Gandhi insulted India on foreign soil. Now they are not willing to back down without an apology and refuse to even let him speak in the parliament until he tenders an apology. But what is it that Rahul Gandhi said that the BJP has taken such strong objections to? And also, what is the way forward? I'm being joined by one of the two people who accompanied Rahul Gandhi throughout his trip in the UK. Joining me now is Praveen Chakravarthy, who's also the chairperson of Congress's Data and Analysis Wing. So thank you so much for joining me today. Before I get into the specifics of whether there was anything insulting, not insulting in those comments, I want you to just set the context for people here in India, because we did get a few clips and a few speeches, but do tell us what was the total duration of his trip, what were his speaking engagements, and what was the purpose of all these speeches that he did give.
Thank you. First, I think, yes, you're right. It is important to understand what exactly transpired, or what were the different events that Mr. Gandhi participated in the UK. I think his first engagement was in Cambridge University. Cambridge University invited Mr. Rahul Gandhi to be a visiting fellow in the university and spend 4 days, not one, not two, but 4 days, speaking to students, professors, research scholars, and other individuals. Some of them were public engagements, some of them were private closed-door engagements. Then after that, there was a 3-day trip to London, where there were many meetings and that were held. One was, there was a press meet with the Indian Journalists Association in London, after which there were public engagements, including visiting Basavanna's statue and Ambedkar's statue in London, and along with Mr. Mahatma Gandhi's statue. Then there was a public rally with the diaspora, with the Indian diaspora in the UK, organized by the Indian Overseas Congress. Then there was interaction in the UK Parliament with members of Parliament, journalists, academics, students, intellectuals. And then there was an engagement with Chatham House, probably the world's most preeminent think tank. And this was a public engagement where he met many intellectuals. Other than that, there were also visits to the museum, the Victoria and Albert Museum. Then there were some private dinners. So there were a series of engagements over a week in the UK for Mr. Gandhi.
So the BJP is now alleging that he made comments that insulted India and also sought the intervention of foreign forces. Do tell us, what are these specific remarks that the BJP is taking objection to?
I actually have no idea, to be honest. The fact is that I was present in pretty much every meeting. And I can tell you that if there was one question that was asked in almost every meeting by nearly everyone we met in the UK, it was actually about the raid on BBC by the Indian government post a documentary that was released. Nearly everyone that we met and every single engagement asked us about that. Why did they ask us? Because we were in the UK, and clearly BBC is a preeminent institution in the UK. But they also asked it because they thought it was quite strange for Indian government to raid a media organization for a documentary. And it was in that context they asked the question, what is happening in India? Why are all these raids happening in the BBC? So if there was anything that actually perhaps even slightly defamed India in our UK visit that we found, it was the raid on the BBC. And it was in that context that there were questions that were asked in public and in private, to which I think in some of the cases, Mr. Gandhi responded saying, yes, you are in the UK and BBC is a UK institution, so you know about the raid, you heard about the raid, and you're asking me about it. But this is what is happening to almost nearly every institution in India, which is the media, the bureaucracy, corporate sector, the judiciary, and he said this is almost par for the course in India. And it was in that context he said that institutions are being attacked in India.
You, in a while ago, you had tweeted a link as well where a question was asked about what sort of intervention would he like from governments across Europe. To which, in that clip, he answers saying it's an Indian problem. The solution also has to come within India. Was this the only reference in all his speeches to any kind of intervention, support, or help from any government other than the Indian government?
Yes, you're right. There was a very categorical question. I think the reason I tweeted this clip was because the question was very direct and categorical, which is, what is it that foreign governments can do to help strengthen Indian democracy? To which Mr. Gandhi very categorically responded, saying, no, you cannot do anything, you should not do anything. It is our problem, it is our internal issue, and we will sort it out, and the solution will come from within. It was very, very categorical. In almost every engagement that we had, it is one thing is to talk about what is happening in India, the Indian institutions, Indian democracy. B, what is the solution for it? And as far as that solution for it was concerned, Mr. Gandhi was consistently clear and categorical that this is India's problem. This is India's internal problem. Because you're asking me about the state of Indian democracy, I'm telling you because I do not wish to lie. I do not wish to make a pretense. I'm telling you what the truth is back home. But the solution is entirely Indian. It is an internal Indian problem.
How do you react to some of the BJP leaders alleging that criticizing democracy, harshly or otherwise, on foreign soil is insulting to the country? And if Mr. Gandhi had any issues, then it should have been taken up within the country. And by that extension, he was seeking help. How do you react to these comments?
That is utter nonsense, and I'll tell you why. There are three reasons for it. One, Mr. Gandhi was not seeking help, and he was very categorical in saying, I don't need any help. Second, this idea of defaming India on foreign soil, if anything, was indulged in by the Prime Minister of India in a lot of his earlier trips. I think there are at least 7 to 8 instances of the Prime Minister of India going and visiting another country, from South Korea to Japan, many other countries, and saying that nothing happened in 70 years, or I was ashamed to be born in India, and things like that. That's number 2. Number 3, we must also realize something. We live in a digital world today. We are in the 21st century. As they say, geography is history in the 21st century. That is, what we say in India or what we say abroad is heard by everyone that cares about India. Whether we say it in Chennai or we say it in Chicago, it really does not matter. In the 21st century, it's very hard to hide the truth, and it's quite naive to start talking about geographical boundaries for communication.
So, going by the video, the clip that you have tweeted, if that is the only remark that the BJP is referring to, then what he said is the exact opposite of what is being alleged. Now, I want to understand from you what you make out of this attack on Mr. Gandhi. Why is the BJP, despite not putting out any visual proof, taking on Mr. Gandhi and taking it to the extent that it has, where they want him suspended from Lok Sabha itself.
I mean, do I really need to spell it out? I think everybody knows this. It is very, very clear that the government of India, the Prime Minister, is stuck in a quandary and a quagmire with the whole Adani issue. The Adani issue is an international affair. The Adani issue is roiling India's markets. The Adani issue is coming home to roost. And the proximity of the Prime Minister with one industry group was well known for the last 8-9 years. And this is now coming out in the open. What happened? Let's think about what happened. On February 9th, if I'm right, Mr. Gandhi raised this issue in Parliament, in the Parliament of India. He asked about Mr. Modi's relationship with Gautam Adani. After that, there has been a series of attempts to deflect the attention from that discussion. That is the main purpose of this entire drama and tamasha. It is to deflect attention from what is actually the real issue, which is Gautam Adani. Gautam Adani, in some sense, is the elephant in the country today.
The Congress also has hit back at the BJP and has attacked the Prime Minister himself, and has also moved a privilege motion, taking offense to comments made by the Prime Minister. So the timing, of course, is suspect. This could have been done before. This is being seen as some sort of a tit for tat, move? How do you react to that?
Yes, I mean, I think I did read a few hours ago about the Congress Party's move of moving privilege against the Prime Minister. I think it is to make the point that the Prime Minister has also made made remarks that are far worse, and that is tit for tat politics. I'm not sure that addresses the core of the question here. The core of the question really is, why are we trying to deflect attention? There was absolutely nothing disparaging that was said by Mr. Gandhi about the country in the UK. B, Mr. Gandhi was very categorical that foreign forces should not intervene or interfere. And C, we need to be discussing real matters such as the Adani issue that the entire world is actually reporting and waiting to talk about, because that was the other thing that almost nearly everyone that we met, at least from the business community, asked us about, which is what is happening to India's economy and the Gautam Adani issue.
I want to ask you if this can become a rallying point for the opposition, and also if the Congress has the support of all the opposition parties. And I want to ask you specifically, for example, TMC, which in principle has agreed with Congress on larger issues, but refuses to come on board on the same platform, on many specific issues. So do you have the support of all parties, including TMC?
See, I think, we have to kind of separate the wheat from the chaff. In fact, one member of parliament from the TMC, Mahua Moitra, has perhaps been one of the more vocal members of parliament to speak out against the Adani issue. So I think on the broader issue itself, not just the opposition, I think, including the people of India, the business sector, the private sector, almost nearly everyone is very clear that there is something fishy here, and they will raise their voice. Now, we can differ about the tactics and the daily tactics and what steps to take and what actions to take. Should we wear black bands or black caps, or should we, go through a JPC or a Supreme Court inquiry? I think those are tactics. And there can be legitimate differences in those. The real question is everyone united in the idea that Mr. Modi's proximity to Gautam Adani has been damaging to this country and to businesses in this country? The answer is yes, and everyone is together on that front.
I agree with you on that point that the TMC has been taking on the Modi government on the Adani issue. But specifically, I want to ask you, if Rahul Gandhi is suspended from Lok Sabha, will you get the support of TMC? Has there been a communication, a dialogue that has been initiated with other opposition parties, some of whom have not been seeing eye to eye with Congress on a few issues.
Again, like I said, those are tactical issues. The president of the Congress Party, Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge, is also the leader of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha, and he's been having meetings nearly every day in Parliament. I am, of course, not privy to what was discussed and agreed upon as of today or as of yesterday, but I think there is very clear consensus and opposition unity, quote unquote, on this particular matter, or even generally broadly about the BJP's misuse of institutions, because I think nearly everyone has borne the brunt of it.
Right. I just want to ask you one larger question. On one hand, you say that Mr. Gandhi has made no such remarks, but the BJP has been successful in pushing a narrative that he spoke things that are deemed to be anti-national, insulting to the country. Time and again, for at least 10 years now, we've seen how the BJP has been successful in setting the narrative, right? This narrative war, be it on social media, on mainstream media, they have set the tone and have drowned out facts in many cases. How does the Congress party plan to counter this and overcome this?
And this is a very good question, and this really goes to the heart of the problem. So, for example, let me ask you, had you seen this video clip, or did you know that Mr. Gandhi had so categorically rejected any external interference before I tweeted this out?
No.
See, there you go. And you're in media, you're in a very reputed media publication following politics, and you did not know this. See, this, you're absolutely right. This utter control and dominance of media and mainstream media. If I were to plug everyone's ears with my set of earphones and then pump music, you will only hear my music. You will not hear anybody else's music. And that is what is happening today in India. So it is becoming very, very difficult and hard to even get our word across. And some of which are just facts and the truth, actually. So and you're right, it is a big problem. And this just goes back to what Mr. Gandhi actually said, which is a complete attack on institution. To be honest, asking for saying that we are a democracy, but with a completely controlled media, is like tying the eyes of a footballer and asking him to play a football match. I think it is the importance of putting out our point of view, putting out some facts is so important, especially in such a vast country like India, when these channels are completely clogged with only one party's narrative. It becomes very, very hard. But having said that, I think we're trying very, very hard through alternative media platforms and the few remaining objective media platforms, such as the News Minute and a few others.
My last question to you, what is the Congress's strategy going forward? How does the Congress plan to tackle this, both in the Parliament and, like I said, the narrative war? How does the Congress plan to fight it up?
I think the Parliament one is tactical, and the leaders in Parliament will be conferring with opposition leaders and coming out with strategies. I think on the narrative, we are doing whatever we can. You may have seen Mr. Gandhi's videos on the Gautam Adani issue. There have been 3 videos that Mr. Gandhi has put out explaining the Adani issue on his YouTube. We find that we suspect that perhaps even his YouTube account may actually be under some sort of pressure and influence, because we suddenly see some strange behavior even on his YouTube account. So, but we are trying very hard to actually get across our narrative, or at least put out the facts and the truth in this matter. And I hope we will be able to, using other alternative platforms.
Before I let you go, could I once again persist on the point you just made about his, suspicious activity on his YouTube page as well? Because he did mention in one of his speeches that he believes that Pegasus was used on his mobile devices also. So what are you specifically talking about?
Now, this is, of course, we're still working on this, and we are actually planning to raise this. Um, but we have noticed that so the way YouTube works is YouTube, you will get a certain number of views based on engagements on the YouTube platform, because YouTube will recommend this video to multiple people based on engagements. We have found over the last couple of days that Mr. Gandhi's videos on the Adani matter are not getting the kind of the numbers of views that it should ideally be getting for the kind of engagement that these videos are generating. And so we think there may be something that is going on either algorithmically or through pressure on YouTube. We plan to raise this with YouTube, both in India and in the headquarters.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us. We will, of course, continue tracking what happens in the Parliament and about the entire issue, and we will come back to you for more interviews. Thank you for your time, Mr. Praveen Chakravarthy.
Thank you.